Life is an amazing podcast, and it is presented and hosted by myself, Caro, and my sweet dog Sparky. Give it up for him. I hope you're ready. Enjoy. And welcome, dear people, to Go For Your Life. So this is part of my Vegan Hero series. And one of the people that I'm interviewing is Keegan. He's right here with me. From, where are we talking from, Keegan? Like we're having a...
I'm in Sedona, Arizona, United States.
Hey, that's really, it rhymes as well. It's really cool. I'm in Sedona, Arizona, da-da-da. It's like a song. So yeah, as part of the series, I already spoke to Giacomo. I'm also going to speak to Alex. They're all amazing vegan filmmakers, and I'm very honored and very grateful that Keegan and I are having this conversation. So thank you, Keegan.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so cool to. It's also really nice to connect. Because are you working at the moment right now?
Yeah. So I am producing 4 films currently.
Whoa.
Thankfully I'm only directing one of them. Mm-hmm. But I'm a writer and producer on 3 other films currently, and so I'm super busy, mm-hmm. which is kind of how I've operated for the last 8 years making films. I've pretty much always had 2 projects going at the same time. Like mm-hmm. I'll start a new feature film before I finish the current one, and that tends to be because doing feature-length documentaries takes so long mm-hmm. that I miss that creative spark that happens when you first start a project, mm-hmm. when you first come up with an idea and a concept and you start outlining and storyboarding it. That's a really exciting part for me. And so, the current film I'm working on is called Hungry for Justice. It's about food justice and food access in the United States, and asking the question, why is it that Americans of color suffer from disproportionately higher rates of chronic disease than Caucasian Americans? And so the film follows my co-director, John Lewis, who's known as the Badass Vegan Online, following his story and his journey, trying to find answers to that. But we're doing that whole film through the lens of hip hop and urban culture. So we're interviewing influential hip hop artists and musicians and athletes and entertainers who are talking about this issue. Because the impetus behind it is that music has influenced my life. I became vegan and straight edge because of hardcore punk music, and music is this incredible tool for shifting culture, and there's really no other art form like hip hop in the way it can transmute information and influence communities. What a hip hop artist says, wears, drives, eats, drinks, talks about, influences the purchasing power of millions of people around the world. It's arguably the most influential art form in human history. And so when hip hop artists start talking about conscious eating or plant-based diet, or just being aware of that the food we are, marketed towards and that have really pushed on, particularly communities of color in the United States, that when artists talk about that could really shift the culture in a major way and could save millions of people's lives from preventable diseases, but also just shift how we look at government and society and pharmaceuticals and the whole 9 yards. So it's a really powerful, exciting film. And we hope to have that out, in 2020.
So cool. It sounds really amazing, because for those, I think everybody knows, but for those of you who don't know, Keegan is behind like COWSPIRACY and What the Health, and those movies you did with Kip, right? Like you guys were working together. And was COWSPIRACY one of the first movies you've done, or like where did it start for you?
Yeah, so COWSPIRACY is the second feature-length documentary I did. I had done a film the year before I started working on COWSPIRACY called Turlock. And Turlock is a feature-length documentary about the largest animal neglect case in California history. It's the second largest in U.S. history, second largest animal rescue in U.S. history. And what it was a battery egg farm, this concentrated factory farm, tiny little wire cages that they raise hens in for their eggs. The farm abandoned 50,000 egg-laying hens in these cages for 2 weeks without food. And so neighbors started complaining about the smell because there was birds, just rotting in the cages. And I was one of the first people on the scene and went in and started filming. And it ended up being a campaign to try and save these animals because the county that was in control of disposing of the animals, didn't want us to save any of them. And so there was a police standoff. It was a whole thing, and ended up making a feature film about that. And so it's a heavy film, but it's beautiful. It's about the 4,500 chickens that we were able to save and how they lived the rest of their lives out. And while making that film, I actually met my now wife. She was one of the rescuers there, so it's a vegan love story. And when I finished that film and it premiered, I was looking for projects, and Kip Anderson, my co-director for COWSPIRACY and What the Health, he heard about it and reached out and said, that he'd been trying to make this film for a while, and we got together. And from the first time we met to the time we finished the film was 10 months. We just busted it out as quick as possible.
Wow.
It was super, super fast. But part of that was we had a very, very small budget. So we were trying to get it done as quickly as we could for that. But also the urgency of it. COWSPIRACY is, for those who haven't seen it, is a film about the environmental impact of animal agriculture and why large environmental organizations aren't talking about it. And the more research we did while making that film, the more destructive and more damaging than we ever thought animal agriculture possibly could be. And it was revealed to us. And so that was a really powerful film. And while we were doing that film, we realized that there was a whole nother story around health. And we were going to actually include it in COWSPIRACY, like a big health section. But we realized it was two separate films. And so we did What the Health.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
right
What the Health was kind of like born within COWSPIRACY. Like you guys were already. Oh, that's really amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
so
did you ever think COWSPIRACY was going to be as big as it gotten in the end? Like, were you ready for that?
I kind of did think it was going to be have a big impact. I didn't think it was going to get, we ended up having Leonardo di Caprio be an executive producer on the film, I never thought that was going to happen. And it's one of Netflix's most successful documentaries.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to make waves, and I thought it was going to wake people up, but not in the way that it did. I mean, the film was shown at the European Union Parliament, the Italian Parliament, Dutch Parliament. I mean, it was been shown around the world to world leaders. But, I think a big part of that was, having Leonardo DiCaprio on board. It legitimized the film. The film's called COWSPIRACY. So for a lot of people, that's like a conspiratorial film, and, who's interested in conspiracy films. But, I'm into conspiracy theories that are true.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how did you guys get Leo on board?
Yeah, our good buddy Leo.
Leo.
It was just amazing. Lisa Lange at PETA, she gave a copy of the film to Darren Aronofsky, who's one of my favorite directors. He did Noah and Requiem for a Dream. And he saw the film and apparently told DiCaprio about it and said, hey, you got to see this film. And so I get a call. I'm driving over to Kip's house, and I get a call from this guy, and he goes, hey, I'm a right-hand man to Leonardo DiCaprio. He heard about your film. He'd love to get a screener. And I kind of laughed, like, yeah, sure you are. And I go to Kip, and I tell him, I'm like, hey, man, this guy said he's works for Leonardo DiCaprio and wants a screener. And we laughed about it. And Kip's like, yeah, send him a screener. He's like, yeah, it's a creative way of trying to get a free version of the film. He's like, we're not cheap. Like, we'll give somebody a version of the film. So we sent it to him. And a week later, I get a call from Jennifer Davison, who is Leonardo DiCaprio's producer. She's worked on, she's a producer on Revenant and almost all of his films. She's a producer on it. And she said, hey, Leo saw your film. He's obsessed with it. That's all he's talking about.
Wow.
He had a meeting with a bunch of people and showed it to them. He called up the heads of Netflix himself, which is normally he would never do. He'd have one of us do that. And he said, hey, you guys got to take this film. I'm going to be an executive producer on it. And this is before he even talked to us. And so we said, awesome.
Wow.
And then over the course of a year, we re-edited the film and tightened it up, updated the facts and statistics. Because sadly, over the course of the year that we were working on it, the situation just got worse.
Yeah.
And so, he did produce an exclusive version for Netflix. So there's a version that's on Netflix around the world in, it's probably 40 languages at this point. And then there's the version that is on the DVD and that we sell through our website.
Yeah,
and the Netflix version is just more updated and just a bulletproof film.
Wow. And so because this was something that I was talking to with Giacomo as well, is that he really learned it all by himself, and you were the same, right? You didn't go to any kind of film school or anything like that. You really are a self-taught filmmaker in a way.
Yeah, I'm a 6th grade dropout, so I only made it to normal school until I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, a total self-taught in the sense that, I mean, people ask me all the time, they're like, well, where did you go to film school? I said, YouTube University.
Yeah, you and I had joked about that. It was so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's all. You go on YouTube for whatever you want, and there's someone who's taken the time to do a tutorial for you. So I've really used those resources, and then just learned as much as I can. And I think learning through doing is one of the best ways, at least for me. Like that's where I get my information.
And what are some like major challenges for you while you were like learning it for yourself and doing it for yourself?
Probably the biggest challenge is I didn't realize you have to be like a computer nerd to make films. you gotta know about RAM and processors and nonlinear editors, and there's so much technology that's involved. A lot of people I think just think of filmmaking as a camera and a story. Yeah. But there's so much technical information and knowledge that you've got to gain, and so I mean at this point it's like I'm a total gear nerd because you kind of have to be. At least the way I do it, because with all of my films, I've written, shot, edited, produced. I've done the score for most of my films. So I really had to know every single process, which I'm really fortunate that I've been able to do that. And I'm thankful that I've been able to do that. I would like to not have to do everything for my future films though.
And was there a situation in your life like where you were like, because of course you're a vegan activist as well, and your veganism is so important to you, but was there a moment where you're like, okay, I'm gonna make films now, this has to happen, and then you started doing it? Or like, was it an event that really sparked that in you? Yeah,
I would spent close to 8 years as a touring musician with a music project called True Nature. And the whole point of True Nature was to raise awareness about animal, human, and earth liberation. Like that's what all the songs were about. And every show was about creating conversation and getting dialogue and getting people to think about these issues. But I found after years of doing that, frustrated, like I was only reaching so many people. And the reason why I chose music was the reason why I changed my life. And I started thinking like, well, what's another way you can reach a lot of people? And what's had a big influence on me was documentaries. And so I started teaching myself documentary filmmaking. And I had an organization called Rescued, which was doing investigations into factory farms, because I thought we really need to produce, as a movement, produce high quality investigative films. There's tons of really powerful investigations, but it's really grainy footage, and it's really hard to watch because just visually it's hard to watch, and then obviously emotionally. And so I wanted to step the game up when it came to investigation. So I was doing HD, videos and just trying to make things as more cinematic as possible. More to the kind of Animal Equality, I think, is doing that sort of investigations. I think they really started that higher quality. And from there, I went from investigations to doing short videos for nonprofits, and very quickly went into doing feature lengths. And as soon as I saw the impact that videos were having on people, I decided like that's it. Like that's where I'm going to have the biggest impact. And then with the success of COWSPIRACY was 100% like, this is what I need to be doing. And so, the last 8 years has been nonstop films, just back to back to back to back. Yeah.
And do you so is there also some kind of magic or some kind of like amazing chemistry between you and Kip? Like how do you look at that kind of, your work as a duo with him? Like how is that?
Yeah. Super fortunate working with Kip. I hadn't worked with a lot of people before, and Kip and I worked really, really well together. Kip's an extremely creative guy, tons of ideas, tons of different concepts. And so I mean, honestly, like the biggest challenge with working with Kip was just reining in like the incredible amount of ideas and creative thoughts that he had. And Kip's still one of my best friends. Super fortunate. I decided not to do, after we finished What the Health, I did another film on my own called Running for Good, which is a feature-length documentary about Fiona Oakes, a 4-time world record vegan marathon runner. I decided to do films independent from Kip, because I just wanted to have the total creative freedom to just do things as artistically as possible that I felt moved to